This is Comicord, and you're listening to Austin, Felix, and Matt on the Devy Debate.
Welcome to the Devy Debate. All right, boys, are we ready to debate? Austin, you tweeted something earlier. You tweeted your running back rankings. Explain yourself.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand, fellas. Who jumped up enough?
That's Austin Nace.
Who is going to be that guy? And for me, Bijan Robinson is still going to be that guy.
Back to the ground with Robinson, who spins and then tries to bounce it. A stiff arm, another one as he rides it, keeps his balance. They're going to say stepped out, but up.
I'm Felix Sharp. I know you didn't think that we would get through this episode without mentioning the name one Zach F. Wilson.
Screener draw. Oh, Wilson is going to uncork for the end zone, and he drops it in beautifully. And it is his roommate Dax Milne on the touchdown.
That's Matt Bruning.
G. Scott Jr. Obviously, I waxed poetic about him on the last episode, so I won't do that again here.
And this time it's Fields on the carry. Watch out! Justin Fields! Hello, Columbus! 51 yards!
Bruning, are you ready to go head-to-head with me?
I am.
Got to get my popcorn out here. Hold on.
Got to continue. I got it. Kyle McCord is going to end up winning the job. He's going to be rated higher.
Well, I'm not nearly as passionate about what I'm about to talk about.
Our apologies to Coach Herbstreit. We ran out of time. We'll get him rescheduled soon. And for Matt Bruning and Austin Nace, I'm Felix Sharp. Good night and good luck.
It's 9:30 Eastern Time, the time zone that does not need a resolution. That means it's time for the Devy Debate, brought to you by CampusToCan.com. That's Matt Bruning, that's Austin Nason, Chris Moxley, and I'm Felix Sharp. On a totally 100% sober version of tonight's show, is Bryce Young a better prospect than Trevor Lawrence? Is Bo Nix good for Ty Thompson? And will Jim Harbaugh give Georgia its second straight loss? But we start with the Clemson Tigers in the Cheez-It Bowl, tearing up the scoreboard. Matt Bruning, is there a blue blood / prestigious program that's worse for C2C or Devy development right now than the Clemson Tigers?
So for Devy, I would say yes. There's probably at least two that come to the top of my mind. I mean, Clemson did technically put Trevor Lawrence into college last year. I mean, into college. He was in college already. Into the NFL first round last year, right? So, I mean, they developed him. Texas A&M, I mean, Kellen Mond last year was in the third, Christian Kirk in the second. What was that, 3 years ago now? Outside of them, the only other two first-rounders on, like, the recent run here would be Johnny Manziel and Mike Evans back in 2014. Only one of those has been really good, and that's Mike Evans. And then, obviously, that team up north. I mean, you got to go all the way back to 2008 to get Chad Henne out of the second round. So, I mean, there are worse teams at developing talent. So I wouldn't say it's all on Clemson. Maybe if this is a DJ centric question, maybe we all just as a collective mind missed on DJ because Will Shipley has looked damn good tonight. And I mean, Justin Ross before the injury was a really good player as well and looked like he was developing. So I don't know that Clemson's bad at developing players. It may just be we missed on DJ more than Clemson failed to develop him.
I actually don't disagree with you about Michigan being bad. That was actually one of the ones that I'm thinking of. But Austin, if you had to choose, and first of all, Texas A&M is not a blue blood program.
Thank you.
But if you had to choose between Clemson and Michigan for your prized recruit to go to that you really want to do well, I think you're choosing Michigan over Clemson right now. I mean, looking forward, projecting for the next 3 years.
Aren't you the guy that famously always talks about how Furman has more guys in the NFL recently than Michigan? No, I would still feel way better about Clemson. I think they've just done a poor job of talent evaluation over the past few years. I don't know that they've done a bad job of development. I mean, I think Texas overall has been worse outside of Bijan. They really haven't produced anybody in a while. Florida honestly hasn't really produced. I know some people can still consider Nebraska blue blood, and they haven't produced shit in like 20 years. So no, I would still rather them go to Clemson than Michigan. Donovan Edwards is like still the only guy there that I like at all for the NFL.
Chris Moxley, would you rather have your prized wide receiver recruit go to Clemson or Oregon?
Who's the offensive coordinator at Oregon? Have we nailed that one down yet?
Yeah, we do, actually.
The dude from Auburn.
It's Bo Nix's old offensive.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Dillingham, right? Dillingham.
Yeah, I have it on the show sheet. Kenny Dillingham. Yes, yeah. Kenny Dillingham.
I don't know. I guess Clemson, because I've actually seen them put a wide receiver in the NFL recently in T. Higgins. So I don't really trust Oregon to develop anybody until I actually see it happen. This is a new coaching staff, and Cristobal wasn't there very long. So I have no idea if Oregon can develop, but I've actually seen Clemson do it once with a really good wide receiver in T. Higgins. So I'm gonna default to them just because it's like 1 versus 0.
You see how much confidence everyone has in saying Clemson is. I mean, it's terrible. Yeah, I don't know. The question is out there: is DJ Uiagalelei going to develop? Is he going to, bounce back in his junior season? We have no evidence of that. There's no evidence of that happening. I mean, he doesn't look great tonight. Clemson is one of those schools that they like to promote from within. Dabo is loyal to a fault. There's nothing changing about this Clemson program. So for those of you thinking that, Will Shipley is going to do something, he may, but I'm not banking on the wide receivers or tight ends or, quite frankly, the quarterbacks for this Clemson program. It's going to be a long time in startup drafts before I take DJ Uiagalelei. So, all right. We should talk about bowls. Should we talk about bowls? Or are we already into? Listen,
that's what I always get from Chipotle. I always get the burrito bowl. It's good. That's not what you were talking about. Okay, my bad.
Same.
My bad.
You're the one who runs the show. Isn't that kind of your decision, what we talk about?
Listen, I ask for input from you guys all the time, and there's just nothing.
And we didn't put anything on there. So we trust you implicably. Just make the show.
All right, let's move on here to. We're gonna skip past right over housekeeping, and we're gonna talk about some of the bowls that are going to be played later this week. But overall, and Chris Moxley, let's start with you because I know that you're always prepared. What player has the most to gain from showing out this bowl season, the remainder of the bowl season?
A lot of people listen to this tomorrow, so I want to say Caleb Williams because I think that there's a lot of questions around what the offense is going to look like. I really like the direction they're heading. I think that new offense coordinator from Ole Miss is a good fit for him, but he did end the year struggling. He wasn't great. He was good, not great, and so I think he has a lot to prove. But that game's later tonight, so I will not. I'll not pick that one. I will pick probably Sam Howell versus South Carolina tomorrow. And I think Howell's basically his resume is almost always complete, right? I think there's a lot there, but I'd really like to see him end his career with a statement win the same way we saw Malik Willis do it. I think it'd be really, really valuable for him to come out and put up 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, 50 rushing yards, maybe a touchdown on the ground. And I think South Carolina's defense can allow him to do that. But I do think it's important for him to end the season on a high note. I think that'd be really important for him and just talent evaluation in general. It just looks good, even if it doesn't really matter.
Well, not only for him, in his career there at UNC, but I still think that Sam Howell could be the number 1 quarterback taken in this draft. Look, we've seen him fall to the second round in these mock drafts. I I would love for that to happen because there's a chance for him to go to the Lions, but I don't see Sam Howell falling out of the first round. I don't see him falling out of the top 15 picks or so because I'm sorry, Kenny Pickett, you just got here. Sam Howell has been like that dude since his freshman year, since he was playing against Journey Brown and that Penn State team in that Cotton Bowl his freshman season. So I still think Sam Howell could potentially be the first quarterback taken. And that's why he was my answer, is because he could potentially elevate himself to, kind of regain that status to be the number one quarterback in this class.
Yeah, I mean, the problem for him is going to be that South Carolina isn't the kind of team that anybody's going to care about a decent performance out of him from, I don't think. I think he's just kind of settled in, unless he just goes out and either gets a catastrophic injury, I'm knock on wood that does not happen, or it looks like awful, which I don't anticipate. I don't know that he can boost it anymore. If he was playing a better team, no offense, Chris, I could see that just being that one final straw there on his behalf.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I hope he does fall to the second round. Austin, who do you got who could
I
make
think
the most out of this bowl season?
I think it's some of these guys that are going to step into open jobs, I think, are the ones that are really going to kind of boost their value the most. That means potentially Ja'Cory Brooks or somebody playing wide receiver at Alabama. Can somebody step up there and do something? Because I'm just really doubtful it's going to be, Javon Baker and some of those guys that came in prior to this year. I think it has to be one of the freshmen that's really going to make an impact there. So there, and then the backup wide receivers, quote unquote backup wide receivers at Ohio State, I think is another one where those guys can kind of start to solidify that job. Sorry, Matt, if I took your answer. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, actually. I was on a show yesterday, Dynasty Kings, with one of the guys at the website, Mike, Valerie, I think it's Valerie. And I'm starting to come around on Julian Fleming, could potentially be a thing next year. Was that also what you were going to say, Matt?
I'm done for the tonight. But yeah, I've got the Ohio State shirt out. I was ready to go all in on Julian Fleming, and yeah, it's all right.
I don't know, unless he just has an amazing year. I don't think he can rebound his stock anywhere close to what it once was. But I don't think he's dead there. I think he's going to get every opportunity to take that job. The freshmen they bring in this year are okay, but I wouldn't feel good about any of them really playing much as freshmen. The Caleb Burtons and the Kyon Grays and some of those guys. So I think it's going to be there's four guys there, really. He's one of them. I just think by default, he's going to get all these chances. We'll see if he can do anything to kind of start that thing off on the right foot this bowl season.
I mean, Matthew, I like that call. I mean, you've got
that
both
was my
Chris
call.
Olave and
put it on the sheet.
And I mean, Julian Fleming. Who else is going to be starting there?
Let's be honest here. The only person I thought might steal that would have been Julian Fleming's hype man, Felix Sharp, up there in the corner. And I was like, you know what? He's not going to do it. I was not expecting you to do it. But yeah, he was going to be my one. Because we were having a conversation. I'm sure none of you saw this thread because you guys actively avoid Ohio State at all chances on Twitter. But I was talking with, I believe it was Jeff Bell, Matt Wispay, and some other Buckeye fans. We were kind of talking about a lot of people getting upset with Wilson and Olave and them opting out, right? They opted out of the bowl game, and a lot of entitled Ohio State fans got upset about it. So we were kind of going against them and talking about that. And my whole thing with Julian Fleming, I know, Austin, you posted your thread earlier this year about wide receivers who haven't really done much and how they typically don't end up ever getting into the NFL, and that after they don't do anything that freshman season, don't ever really make it into the NFL and produce. And I almost wonder if we should consider this his freshman season. He only got to play. They only played 6 games last year at Ohio State. What are you throwing your hands up for, Moxley? I don't understand.
That's the stupidest shit I've ever heard. How can we consider a guy who's in his third year?
And third year? He's in his second year. Third year? What are you talking about?
Going into his third year as I don't want to hear this.
I'm not saying ridiculous. Okay. Anyway, so let me talk. Well, Mom, you can come interrupt in a minute. So his freshman season, they played in 6 games where not even JSN, who we all hyped up to be this is all-world talent, this amazing wide receiver, the next best thing at Ohio State, made one play. He made one play that season. He did not do much on the field. But then we just gave him a pass on not doing anything his freshman season because he made one play. Julian Fleming was hurt, and he sat behind Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, and Jameson Williams, who we're now seeing is completely balling out at Alabama. But no, yeah, you're right. Let's just count that, Moxley. That's all that matters because he had to sit behind 3 all-world talents. Well, I won't go that far. Sorry. That's my Buckeye bias coming out of me. But 3 really great players. Then this year, he comes into the year, hurts his shoulder in the spring, and then messes up his hamstring and has not played at all this season. And I understand for you analytics and numbers people that matters, whatever. I don't really care about the numbers side of things, so that's probably why we will disagree on that side of things. But there were even some analytics people, including Matt Wispe, who said that he's starting to try and factor that stuff into his analytics because of that. And when these guys go to crowded rooms, I do think that if Fleming can go out there, the chances of it happening are probably slim. But if he's able to go out there, I think they play Friday afternoon, if I'm remembering correctly. If he goes out there and puts,
you tell us.
I don't really know. I've not paid that close attention. I'm pretty sure they play Friday afternoon. But if he's able to go out there and put up 100 plus a touchdown, 2 touchdowns on a very good Utah team, and then go into next year, and you just said it, Austin, he's gonna get all the run. He's the only guy in that room that brings that kind of speed to that wide receiver core. Mecca doesn't have that speed. Ballard doesn't have that speed, who I do think will get some run as well, and neither does Marvin Harrison. And neither does JSN, and JSN is likely going to stay in the slot. So Fleming's going to be that guy on the outside, and as much crap as I like to give CJ Stroud, he has one of the biggest A-dots of quarterbacks in college football. They like to throw the ball deep, so Fleming's going to be that guy. If he ends up producing and putting up monster numbers this year, I don't understand why he can't be the next Jameson Williams without actually having to transfer out of that room, because I do think Ohio State's going to have a very potent offense. So I do think that he has a realistic shot of being a guy, if he goes out and has a massive game Friday, could really kind of boost his stock up.
I'm going to skip over the fact that Matt is much nicer to Matt Fox and Dennis on the Fantasy Roundtable. Chris Moxley, do you believe in Julian Fleming potentially having a good game Friday or whenever Ohio State plays and in 2022? And let me just illustrate for the offense that you look stressed. You're resting your hand on your cheek in answering this question.
I almost don't even want to acknowledge how ridiculous the idea that Julian Fleming is going to become a legitimate NFL prospect is. Like, okay, you keep saying he's injured. Okay, well, maybe he's injury prone. Like, you could say all you want about like not getting the opportunity, but he's been jumped, or allegedly, according to practice reports, by like freshman wide receivers too. So like, it's not like he couldn't get the opportunity. Like Marvin Harrison was allegedly running ahead of him. I guess part of that is injury. I don't know how much of it is injury. There's just stuff there that I kind of worry about with him more than I would maybe another player in that position. Like I can excuse it if it's like a guy who's getting on the field, like he's not, and like he's never healthy. It's like maybe he has a good game because he's the only option with JSN like this week, but I don't know. I don't love it.
I just want to be on record that I called Julian Fleming a rich man's DJ Moore. If he does, in fact, break out, I want to be able to record that and say that I said that, because I have said that before. All right, let's move here to Chris. Let's go back to you. Players who could potentially lay an egg and hurt their draft stock or their Devy stock this weekend with a poor performance. And quite frankly, a player that I'm thinking of is Desmond Ridder. I think Desmond Ridder could absolutely go out and play poorly and, go from a day 2 prospect to an end of day 3, 6th, 7th round prospect. So who you got?
Yeah, Ridder was one of mine. I don't know how much it's going to hurt him necessarily, but I do think that Matt Corral could have a really poor game against Baylor this week. Baylor has a good defense and Corral is hurt. and he's insisting on playing in the bowl game. He's still not healthy. If he comes out and posts like 100+ yards or like maybe like 200 yards and like a touchdown, maybe 2 interceptions, I think it's within his range of outcomes considering how good Baylor's defense has been. I'm a little worried about Matt Corral. I don't know. I'm not a big like Matt Corral fan. Like, I think he's good. I don't think he's like amazing. And so I think this is a defense that he could struggle against too. They kind of line up well against him. So if he can't run the ball like he's been able to do, I think it's going to be a bigger problem as well. And I'm not sure they're good. They've been good at containing dual threat quarterbacks all year. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah, they have been good, and that is not a name that I was thinking of just off the top of my head. So it hurts to hear you say that. Austin, I mean, who do you got who could potentially lay an egg this week and hurt themselves?
So it's a little bit of a lesser scale, it's not a big name like a Desmond Ridder or Matt Corral, but Hassan Haskins is a guy that I think could really be hurt in a game. He's got all this momentum. It feels so weird to say that. He kind of has this momentum as a guy that could potentially, sneak into like round 4, round 5. He's got the size, athletically, he's fine. Like, I don't think anyone considers him special or anything, but I think a lot of people are starting to view him as a guy that could, make a long career in the NFL. He could be a Gus Edwards or, just a guy like that is always in the mix in the backfield. I'm going to call it now. He averages less than 3 yards a carry against this Georgia defense that is just brutal against running games. I think that Michigan has not played, and this has been my whole argument, is why Michigan is going to get destroyed in this game. They have not played a team that is as big and as fast and as mean as this Georgia team. There's only one team in college football that can prep for that type of talent on defense, and it's Alabama, because their defense also has those guys and they play against them in practice every day. So that's why we saw Alabama go out there and look so decent against that Georgia defense. I think it's going to be a huge wake-up call for Michigan. I think they're going to struggle to move the ball mightily because they cannot put that ball in Cade McNamara's hands and say, go win. Like that is a losing strategy. They're going to have to run the ball, and Haskins is just going to run into a wall all day. And I think after this game, we're going to say, wow, like what were people thinking launching this guy into the 3rd, 4th round? He's like a 7th round guy.
We're going to have to talk about the outcome of this game because I don't know that I agree with you with Mr. Nace.
A little rough 7th round. I mean, he could probably be like a 5th or 6th rounder, but all right. I agree with Felix.
It's not that much different. I don't know.
Well, I guess possibly true. I was going to go the route that you did, Felix. I mean, I'm probably one of Ritter's biggest fans, but I think this is going to be a big test for him and probably one of the games that he's graded on the most by any scouts and everything watching. I would say the whole Cincinnati, the trio of Cincinnati players that are going into the NFL, not just Ridder, but what Ford does in this game and what Pierce does as well with the way some people are looking at him now that he said he's coming out. He's going to be the main guy. I know, Felix, you're kind of against contested catch guys, and that's really where he thrives. Will he be able to do anything against an Alabama secondary that has been got earlier this year? Ridder, if he really struggles, I think that's going to hurt him. And the same thing with Ford. I mean, he left the SEC to go to Cincinnati to get playing time. And if he's not able to do much in this game, I think all 3 of them could really hurt or help their draft stock, obviously, based on that game. But if they play poorly and they get blown out, it's gonna look bad for all 3 of them, I think.
Yeah, Alec Pierce, who had a career day against Matt Bruning down there in Canton when we played NCAA 14. All right, let's move on here to thinking about the bowls overall. And I was just looking at some games that could have some implications in C2C and in Devy. And then looking at the the Alamo Bowl, Oregon versus Oklahoma, which is going to be played tonight. Austin, let me throw this to you first. Do we still consider OU to be an offensive juggernaut without Lincoln Riley at the helm?
Yeah, I think the jury's still out on that, and I don't think that any of the new staff is coaching tonight, so we won't necessarily be able to glean any of that information. I think that this is just a total wait and see. It does sound like they are keeping a lot of the offense together. It kind of looked like they were going to lose everybody, and now it seems like Marvin Mims, who was rumored to be in the portal, is staying. Hasselwood left, but Weiss is still there. Mario Williams is still there. They still have a couple of recruits coming in this year. Matt's guy Gavin Sawchuk amongst them. So it's too early to say definitively one way or the other. I'm actually just more interested in how they recruit, because I mean, it's not like Oklahoma was taking these 3-star kids and turning them into stars. I mean, Hasselwood and Weiss were both top 3 wide receivers in their class when they came out. Caleb Williams was the QB1. So I'm just interested to see if they can keep up that momentum more than, or are they a juggernaut because of play calling or scheme or whatever?
Yeah, I think there's a chance that Jeff Lebby, who's coming from Ole Miss to Oklahoma, will be a better fit, to be honest with you, a better fit for Caleb Williams than Lincoln Riley was, at least late in the season. I'm doing some research on that now. Bob Stoops is going to be coaching tonight's game. Cale Gundy, the wide receivers coach, will be calling plays. This is his first time calling plays in a game. Let's move over here to the Oregon side, which we talked about a little bit earlier. Fan-sided, I know it's fan-sided, but they had an article posted about why Bo Nix could be good for Ty Thompson, Matt Bruning, and that's by Connor Maldoni. Essentially what he said is that Bo Nix transfer to Oregon is good for Ty Thompson because it will push Ty Thompson in fall camp. I mean, what do you think the chances are that Ty Thompson opens the season as the starter when they've got Kenny Dillingham is the offensive coordinator at Oregon, or is going to be the offensive coordinator at Oregon? And it seems like the entire reason he was hired is because of his relationship with his pre-existing relationship with Bo Nix.
Yeah, I would think it's pretty slim. I don't think Bo Nix is just going there for the view. Like, I think that he clearly probably talked with Dillingham and likely either believes he's going to be the starter or has a very good shot of winning it. My thing with Ty Thompson, they never really threw him out there, and I don't know if that's a Mario Cristobal thing, the coaching staff, for whatever reason, maybe they didn't trust him, or something that I know Austin and I have talked about it before. I just wonder if COVID really messed up these guys a lot more than we think they did. I think a lot of these guys who maybe didn't get to play their senior seasons and other things that were affected by COVID coming in just were not as ready as we typically see some freshmen are. We did not see a lot of those guys get on the field, and even when some of them did, they did not necessarily play well. So maybe he just wasn't ready. He does have a new coaching staff, so I think that it probably is going to be an open competition going into spring and fall camp and everything. But I would think because of the relationship that Nix and Dillingham have, and I mean, granted, Bo Nix has never been like great, but he had some of his better stats his freshman season as a true freshman with Dillingham. Like he I think is going to be the favorite. I would bet it like 60-40 that he probably ends up being the starter for Oregon.
I'd put the chances at greater than 60-40. I think it's like 80-20. I put this story in here just to talk about it, just to talk about Oregon. I don't think that they go and get Bo Nix unless he's going to be the starter. Now, what does that mean for Ty Thompson? Let's remember, Ty Thompson is the best quarterback that the school has ever signed, as far as recruiting ranking goes. He's the best quarterback that the school has ever signed. And so now he's going to go into his quote unquote redshirt freshman season. Now, I think Bo Nix just has one season left. So maybe it's not bad for him. Chris Moxley, Austin, you can jump in here. It's not bad for him, but we wanted to see Ty Thompson this entire season. And now it looks like we're going to have to wait at least the entire 2022 season before we get to see what he looks like there in Oregon.
This article that was written is the text that I would send somebody if I was trying to trade them Ty Thompson in a league. Hey, like, he's got competition. Maybe that will just make him better. Like, how can this possibly be good for Ty Thompson? Like, Bo Nix is a seasoned quarterback that we've seen win in the SEC. I guarantee you he can win a couple games in the Pac-12. Like, he's an improvement over anything they've had in the last handful of years. Like, he's much better than Anthony Brown. Like, there's no story that you can reasonably tell me that tells me that this is good for Ty Thompson. And I hate that Ty Thompson is now sitting for 2 years because I think that's what's going to end up happening. So yeah, this is like propaganda, basically. Like, I don't know how else to phrase it.
Austin, Troy Franklin is somebody that is, relatively high in either Devy or C2C rankings, but he didn't do very much this year. You've got them bringing in Dan Lanning, who's the Georgia defensive coordinator, is going to be the head coach at Oregon whenever he's done in the playoff. It feels like Oregon is a bit of a mud pit or not a landing spot that you would want for a potential recruit, including Troy Franklin. I mean, I feel like if you have some Oregon skill position players, this may be a selling point before the 2022 season begins.
I think we need to pause the panic a little bit on all of this stuff. I think there are two quarterback transfers that come to mind last year that we said that guy is going to go in there with a new coach and take the job. They pretty much guaranteed it. One of them was Joe Milton, who did take the job and then lost it by week 3. The other I can think of is Patrick O'Brien, who went from Colorado State to Washington. I thought by him going there, they were basically said, like, we don't like Dylan Morris. Patrick O'Brien, you're going to have a chance to take this job. And he basically never touched the field this year.
They don't have the track record that Bo Nix does. We can make fun of like Bo Nix Heisman season all we want, but like he was way more accomplished than both those players.
Sure,
but he's going in, and he has a relationship with that staff already. Like,
if
I don't
Ty
know.
Thompson,
I would be really
if Ty
surprised
Thompson
if
is
he win that job.
If Ty Thompson is better, Ty Thompson will play. If Ty Thompson is not better, then Ty Thompson is probably not what we thought he was. I think it
might be a mixture of both.
So,
but do we know that for sure? Because again, we've talked about it, the famous one obviously being Kirby Smart, but we've seen coaches before just make the wrong decision purely based on relationship and the fact that he is a veteran. Do we know that because Ty Thompson goes out there and plays better, like maybe we see it, we won't get to see it, right? We don't get to watch practices or any of this stuff, but say they go out there in the spring game and Ty Thompson is clearly better, and then here we come, kickoff for Oregon, whoever they play this year, and it's Bo Nix as the starter. And the thing's going to be, well, he gives us the best chance to win right now. Now, maybe he goes out there and throws a couple interceptions, plays bad, Ty Thompson gets in, and it'll be the end of story, much like Caleb Williams, Spencer Rattler this year. We don't know that even if Ty Thompson is better in practice, that he will get the starting job. That's my only cause for concern. If it was anybody else that had no relationship whatsoever with Dillingham, any of that, I wouldn't really care. It's the relationship factor that worries me more, because I do think Ty Thompson probably is going to be better than Bo Nix, but the relationship thing is what causes the concern for me.
Well, we're talking about actionable information, and come next year, people are going to be in startups, and they need to know that Ty Thompson is relatively high in our rankings, relatively high in any C2C rankings. There is a good likelihood that he does not start next year, that he does not get any playing time next year due to Dillingham's relationship with Bo Nix. So that's actionable information to take away. Let's move on here to the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. And again, just looking for bowls where we could ask some questions to prompt some discussion. The Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl between Wisconsin and Arizona State. Austin, you have expressed some skepticism regarding Braylon Allen, the freshman athlete, safety turned running back who had a very good freshman season, who has been taken really as high as the first round in some C2C drafts. What would he have to do in 2022 or even in this game for you to believe that the hype is warranted, that position for him is warranted?
Yeah, I remember a couple of weeks ago, we posted some sort of a question, I think from either myself or the C2C account saying, like, if you're not taking Bijan 101 overall, who are you taking, or someone? And someone said Braylon Allen. I was just like, what are you talking about? Braylon Allen, for me, still has a lot of questions. And I think you and I, Felix, have both kind of articulated very similar thoughts on this, that he's just kind of this big dude that doesn't really know what he's doing as a player. So the glass half full is, wow, like this guy's dominating. He doesn't even know what he's doing. The glass half empty is, well, this is just a big athlete, and once teams figure it out, he's in trouble. And I think if you look at the game logs, once he kind of took over this backfield, I believe he was a little bit dinged up early in the season and being 17 years old, kind of adjusting to college. The teams that he played, that he beat up on, Illinois, Army, Purdue, Iowa, Rutgers, Northwestern, Nebraska. None of those are good rushing defenses, really, at all. The first good rush defense he played was Minnesota, and he got shut down like mightily. That whole rushing attack did. So I think like the breaks seriously need to be pumped. I don't think we can learn anything in this game that we didn't already know about him. And I don't think we'll really have the full report on Braylon Allen until like year 3. Like I just really like it's going to take some time before we know with this kid.
I 100% agree with Austin. I'm not touching Braylon Allen. And if I can trade him right now, I'm doing it because I think by this time next year, we're going to be talking about him the way we're talking about DJU right now. I do not think Braylon Allen is at all what we want to make him out to be.
100%. 100%.
All right, let me play devil's advocate here. What I see in Braylon Allen is a little bit of Chris Carson, where this is a big physical athlete who can run people over without even lowering his shoulder, without even, giving any trying to convert speed into power, any of that. If he learns to do that, this guy was recruited as an athlete and he designated early. He's 17 years old. If you can learn how to play with that 225, 230 pound frame, he's going to be a day 1 or day 2 draft pick. He's coming from Wisconsin. Why is that not the approach to take? That this is someone to invest in. If he's still on the waiver wire and you can use a first-round draft pick on Braylon Allen, who has some production behind him, why wouldn't I take a Braylon Allen, Matthew Bruning, over a Branson Robinson or a Evan Stewart? Why wouldn't I take Braylon Allen, who already has the production behind him?
Where do you put him amongst the freshman running backs, Felix? Like, there's obviously Travion's number 1. I think that's like just not even.
No, I mean I mean the freshman coming in.
But I don't like.
If
I don't
he's
know
still
how
on the waiver wire,
where would you take him in a startup? Would you take him above Will Shipley?
No.
Fuck no. See, heck no. Sorry.
I think you can cuss. That's right. I think it's because of what Austin has articulated already. It's how high, like he's consistent. I haven't seen the ADP, but last couple drafts I saw he was going like the second round. Is that roughly where he's going, Austin?
Yeah, I have it here. I'll give me a second.
I'm not taking him in the second round. I mean, you just mentioned running backs who have dominated, right, and done this and that. Like, I'll just use 2. One that went to Wisconsin and another guy who played for the Browns. Like, okay, that was great. They dominated because of great offensive lines and great volume in college. How well that worked out for Monty Ball and Trent Richardson in the NFL. Like, you still have to be a good running back. Being a good, obviously Trent Richardson wasn't drafted or recruited as an athlete. I don't think Monty Ball was either. But my point is just because he's still figuring it out. You're right. I guess I'll give you that. He could figure it out. He could become a very good running back, but I don't know. I'll agree with what Austin said. 3, you got to give it 3 years with him because you cannot base it on what you saw. Again, if you just go small sample size, understand whether he played like 6 games, right? It started in the 6 games, but the one team he played an actual decent defense on, as Austin mentioned, he got shut down. Everybody, all the 4 of us could probably average 1.3 yards a carry on all the defenses that Braylon Allen tore up. And not one of us, except for maybe Felix, Austin's getting close to being back in his prime. Me and Moxley are not trying. And if we could still do that, I think you've got to look at that. And so if he was going 5th or 6th round, I think I'd be fine with it. 2nd round, just no. That's like taking DJU in the 2nd round, in my opinion. That's why I compared him to that. Like, there's so many other more proven players at this point in the 2nd round I'd rather take over Braylon Allen.
In fairness to him, I just want to share the ADP real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
Go ahead, Chris. Okay. So he's being taken as the RB7 right now. The guys going ahead of him, Bijan, Travion, Jahmyr Gibbs, Tank Bigsby, Zach Evans, Will Shipley. If you look at the names that come right after him, I think there's only 3 that I would probably take over him. Jadon Blue, I'm just obligated to take Jadon Blue. I think I would take Nicholas Singleton over him.
Yeah.
Even though I have some similar concerns about Nicholas Singleton in the sense that we really have no idea how he actually is as a running back. They just tossed him everything. And then I actually think I prefer Donovan Edwards as a player. I think this time next year, Donovan Edwards will be valued higher than Braylon Allen. And I think he has a more well-rounded skill set. But those are the only, like, I would take him over Sean Tucker. I would take him over Branson Robinson, Jace McClellan, Blake Corum. Like that's the next bunch of guys that are below him. And I still would prefer him to them. I don't want to spend on average the 13.2 pick on him. But like, I don't think that's like the range that he's going in is getting close to correct. It's just like too early in the draft, that particular range.
I just think I'd rather pivot and take a wide receiver.
Well, Chris, I want you to have the last comment on this discussion. You're an analytics guy. If we went and looked up Jarek's tools and we put in, whatever running back metrics we wanted to for Braylon Allen, he's going to be above the magic line. Why is that not a reason to invest in Braylon Allen, who, by the way, could be a junior in high school?
If I hear that he's 17 again as like a big talking point, I think I might just like claw my eyes out or like rip my ears out. I'm not sure which one, because I see it on Twitter and then I hear it on podcasts. So probably all of my senses. It's like saying Brian Edwards was a year 17 breakout. Who gives a shit? It's just the year he entered college, dude. He's already more built than like half the NFL already. Like, he's just an athlete. Like, he's a freak. That's what he is. He's a fantastic athlete. I will say this. I posted it in our Discord. Got to be a member of campuscanton.com. We got a ton of stuff in there. We just hit on our alt line parlay, by the way. That was only posted in there. Just saying. Plus 429 with Clemson covering 6.5. You're welcome. But there's no way that he and Will Shipley are in the same class of player. Will Shipley is substantially better in pretty much every facet of the game right now. He needs to improve in a lot of areas, Braylon Allen does, to be considered like a running back and not an athlete. And it's like, we have to actually see that happen for me to feel more confident in like selecting him. There are a lot of other places I'd rather pivot over Braylon Allen.
So really quick, Felix, before you move on, I just, the three top guys that popped to my name really quick is as freshman running backs, Travion Henderson, Will Shipley, and then Donovan Edwards. We were just talking about those three. Will Shipley's dominator rating. I pulled up Jarek's tools. So Braylon Allen is over the magic line, but barely over Will Shipley, and Travion Henderson blows them both out of the water. So the analytics part, I think, still also kind of doesn't really hold up. I mean, you would think with the way people talk about him on Twitter and Reddit, apparently, according to Mr. Kevin Coleman there in the comments, he would be one of the best running backs we've seen analytically here in a while, and he barely crosses that threshold.
Part of that is not playing a full year, or like being the starter for the full year. So
but neither did Shipley. Shipley was hurt.
Yeah.
And Shipley came in right below him, so.
Allen should have been playing the whole year, so he would have been a lot more impressive. But running back analytics don't matter as much as they do for other positions. So, like, I want to say it matters, but I really want to see improvement from him as a player.
I feel like Braylon Allen, the comp for him is DK Metcalf, almost like a freak athlete who might not necessarily have the nuances of the position. Austin, I want to throw this question to you regarding, we're talking about the Peach Bowl. And so what Arizona State is the other team on the other side of the Peach Bowl. They're losing. Diamante Tranium said, F this, I'm going to go play linebacker at Ohio State. They're losing Rashad White to the NFL draft. Daniel Nada, I mean, that's a team that runs the ball a lot. It's going to be Daniel Nada who gets the majority of the carries as a redshirt, freshman or sophomore next year with a dual threat quarterback. I mean, he could potentially be, a league winner of sorts in C2C next year.
Maybe. I don't. I think at this point it's too late for them to get anybody in the portal. Really, I can't think of anybody that I would think of to go there. The problem with Ngata is like he is a little bigger than I thought he was. They have him listed at 5'9", 200, but that's still not that big for a running back. Like, I still think he's at best a complimentary guy. I don't know who they're going to compliment him with. Is it Tevin White, that the true freshman they're bringing in this year? He's already bigger than that, but I don't know if they have another option. I know you don't like Tevin White. Yeah. So I don't think Ngata is like just going to be the guy there, whatever they end up doing.
Okay. Just a little bit of actionable information there. If you've got Daniel Ngata, because he was the back to take ahead of Tranium and Rashad White his freshman season, hold on to him because it looks like, he could potentially get carries next year. I don't have any questions for the next subject here, and that's the Cotton Bowl, Alabama, Cincinnati. So what I'm going to do here is be like the Joker and just throw the topic out there and let you all fight for it. Cincinnati, Alabama, go somebody.
We're going to find out how good Jameson Williams is this game because he's going to be matched up against Sauce Gardner. And Kobe Bryant on the other side of the field can shut down whoever the secondary wide receiver is. He's wearing number 8 to honor Kobe, Kobe Bryant, in this game, which is funny. I don't know. But I think we're going to find out how good Jameson Williams is if he can beat up Sauce Gardner, who's a first-round corner. So I think that's the storyline that I'm paying attention to, besides that Alabama's just going to whack Cincinnati. It's not going to be close.
Yeah, I think can one of those freshmen, I think Austin mentioned it earlier, can one of those freshman wide receivers step up against Kobe Bryant as well? If Sauce Gardner is able to play well against Jameson Williams, even if it is for only a couple halves, Bryce Young's going to have to lean on somebody else. So I'm very curious to see if one of those guys step up. I don't think that they're going to get waxed. Alabama's going to win the game, but I do think at least for the first half, it's going to be a close game. I mentioned it earlier, somewhat joke, is I'd love just to get the Cincinnati thing going on Twitter if they were to actually be able to beat Alabama. But I'm very curious, as I mentioned earlier, what happens with Desmond Ridder. If he plays well in this game, what could it mean for him? Like I said, I feel like I've been his biggest defender, not just on this show, but on Twitter in general. I think people take that a little bit too far sometimes. I've never said he's a first-round pick. But I think if he plays well in this game, he can solidify being an early second-round pick, and that is going to matter for him and his value. But I think it's a big game for him, and how well he plays could be big for Cincinnati because we've seen in the past Alabama has struggled with those mobile quarterbacks. If they start allowing Desmond Ridder to run a little bit in this game, we've seen him take over some of those games earlier in the season when he was able to start running. He doesn't unfortunately have a wide receiver, I think, that can really challenge that Bama secondary. So I think it is going to come down a lot on him and Jerome Ford, which is why they likely will not be able to beat Alabama. But I do think it will be a good and close game.
If Sauce Gardner is matched up against Jameson Williams one-on-one, that's an absolutely, first of all, that's a mistake schematically, in my opinion. Like, I think you should put your second best corner on him and then shade the coverage to him. And for his draft capital, I don't like that because as good as he could be, I think the problem is how quickly can you get to Bryce Young? If you can't get to Bryce Young in 2.5, 3 seconds, and Jameson Williams can just run wherever he wants to, he's going to be able to get deep. And we know without John Mechie, I think that he's going to be targeted at least 12, 15 times. I would love to have a bet of what the line is on targets. If you can get targets on Jameson Williams, I would take the over. If it's like 7.5, I would take the over on targets for Jameson Williams. And if it's like at 4 for Ja'Cory Brooks, I would take the over on that. But I think schematically, if I'm coaching Cincinnati, I would put my second best corner, Kobe Bryant, if that's him, on Jameson Williams, and I would shade the safety to that side, and I would put Sauce Gardner. Just think about it. Sauce Gardner is a 6'2" lanky cornerback. He matches up better with the contested catch guy who is Ja'Cory Brooks. That's what I would do. I don't know what the heck Cincinnati is going to do. I really don't think this one is going to be close. It doesn't have anything to do with the secondary. It has everything to do, Matt Bruning, with how quickly that defensive line could get to Bryce Young and Bryce Young being able to buy time and allow those wide receivers to get open.
No, I agree with you 100%. That defensive line, that's the reason why I think this can be close. I think maybe we're valuing too much what Alabama did against Georgia. Because if we go back and look at earlier this year, Alabama struggled with some teams that I think Cincinnati is comparable to. And I don't know that Alabama figured everything out like they did in that Georgia game. I think some of that just comes – it was just a game where they got up, and no offense because I know Moxley loves Stetson Bennett. Stetson Bennett's not bringing you back in those games. And once Alabama can get you pinned against the wall, they can come after you. And I think that's what they did. They were able to stop that Georgia rushing offense, and Bennett was not able to – he's not that gunslinger that's going to bring them back. So that is my – I agree with you on that part. I don't know that Kobe Bryant's not better than Sauce Gardner. So that's why I don't know that they won't shade if they put Sauce Gardner on Jameson Williams and possibly shade. And then you have Kobe Bryant, who many consider is actually better than Sauce Gardner, on whoever the second wide receiver is for Alabama is not actually the better plan. So I don't know. I'm more excited about that game than I am the Georgia-Michigan game, just because I do think it's going to be a better game than everybody gives it credit for. Like, I don't think Bama's going to blitz them the way they did Michigan State, and even Washington was even a close game for the most part, and they were never really thought Washington was going to win it, but Alabama didn't like come and just completely blow them out. I think it's going to be a close game.
The problem for Cincinnati is that Alabama is going to average over 5 yards a carry as a team this game. That's going to be the big issue.
Probably,
they don't have to pass to beat them. This isn't like they can just roll out jumbo formation, 1 or 2 wide receivers on the field at any given time, and just slam the ball down their throats the entire game. I actually think that's what's going to happen. I actually don't know how much Alabama beats them by, because I think that's going to be the game plan. Just run.
Right. But I think if they do that, that also helps possibly keep the game close. If Cincinnati they're not going to score with Bama, right? But if they're able to blitz them early, get a couple scores, and then Bama continues to run it, like I think it's going to stay a close game. I don't think this is going to be a blowout. Like that's just my only thing. I'd love to see Cincinnati
I'd be
win
willing
if I had
to bet
put money on it.
I'd be willing to bet the other game is a bigger blowout.
Agreed.
I just don't think Michigan's a very good football team.
Well, I disagree with you on that part, but I think there's a better shot that Michigan blows out Georgia than Alabama blows out Cincinnati.
Georgia would do the same exact thing to Ohio State. Like, they would just ram the ball down there. Like, it's going to be the same exact game. And that Michigan's lucky that Ohio State could stop me running the football.
Before we pick the games in Austin, I'm going to let you pick first. We need to give a shout out to and visit Vrockham.red. Who's visiting us in the chat. And of course,
only if you want a virus on your computer, though.
Only if you want a virus on your computer. Also reach out to Brand Charity. The bots are reaching out to us today on the Devy debate. All right, Austin.
If bots are listening, you can like the podcast and give it 5-star review.
Please,
I don't care what you put
all the Russian bots
in your description.
I already forgot his name. What's the president of Russia's name? I was going to reach out to him. Vladimir Putin. Putin, if you are listening to this, please give it 5 stars. Right.
We are number 1 dynasty show in Russia. Believe it or not. No, I made that up.
Okay, Austin, why don't you pick the Cotton Bowl, Cincinnati at Alabama? Give us a score, Austin, and you think Alabama's going to win, but give us a score.
I'm going to say Alabama 34-20.
Matt Bruning?
I'm going to do it. Fuck it. Cincinnati 28-24. Why not? What do I have to lose? If I'm right, I get the victory lap of victory laps, and if I'm wrong, everybody just looks at me. It's another one of Matt's stupid takes. Like, whatever. Who cares at this point?
Go ahead, Chris Monson.
I wanted Austin's score, but I'm gonna pivot. Yeah, that's exactly what I had in my head, and that's why I threw my hands up for everyone watching video. I was like, what the? I'm gonna go 38-24.
I'm gonna go 48-20. Alabama. All right. I'm going to do the same thing with this Orange Bowl. As a matter of fact, I'm going to start here with the Orange Bowl, Georgia versus Michigan. Austin, I disagree with you because I think this is a bash between two teams who want to play the same way. So Michigan wants to run the ball. I think Georgia is going to want to run the ball also. And because of that play style, it really can't be a blowout. I don't think that Georgia is going to be able to run the ball down Michigan's throats. I don't think that Michigan is going to be able to run the ball down Georgia's throats. I don't think that Stetson Bennett is going to be able to throw the ball on Michigan's defense. And so I think you're going to get a game that it's going to come down. This game is going to be close. It's going to come down to the fourth quarter. You may get a field goal that wins it. You may get like a block punt or a defensive touchdown that wins this game. This game is going to be close because they're two teams that want to play the same way. They're going to want to play the game fast, meaning, keep the other team's offense off the field, take a lot of time on offense, run the ball. At least I think that's what they're going to want to do. And so I'm not going to pick the game yet, but I think it's going to be closer than what you're saying or what it sounds like you're saying. Why do you think it's going to be a blowout?
I think that Michigan scores they can't get past 10 points in this game. They will not be able to move the ball. I bet they have under 250 yards total offense.
10 points might win the game.
Points. No, it's going to be like 31-10. Michigan is not they're just not there will be a big special teams touchdown in this game on Georgia's behalf. I guarantee it. There will be at least one defensive touchdown on Georgia's behalf. I almost guarantee it. That's 14 points right there. That's the game. And I think they can sustain another long offensive drive or two. I think it's going to be like 28-10, 28-7, something in that range. Michigan just is not going to be able to move the ball at all.
Matt Bruning, do you agree that Michigan is going to get blown out here and by transitive property that Ohio State sucks?
No, Ohio
Loaded
State does
question.
suck. No, I said it earlier. Maybe that slipped past you. If I had to bet money on a team getting a win in a blowout, I would bet Michigan blows out Georgia. I just think Georgia's a tad bit overrated. I really do. I don't think it's going to be high scoring, but I don't think Michigan's defense is as bad as Dawson's giving it credit for, because the big bad boys in the SEC are going up to play against the little babies up in the Big Ten. I get it. Michigan's offensive line is not Bama's. Well, Georgia did a hell of a job against Bama's offensive line, stopping them. My goodness, they really beat up Bama to win that game. Oh, wait, that's right. They didn't beat Bama, and they didn't do a good job against that offensive line. Michigan has players, and the one thing I agree with Austin on is I do think Georgia's going to be able to run the ball, but if Michigan focuses in on that like they did on Ohio State in their passing, and they're able to figure out a way to slow them down, because I don't think any of those guys are game-changing either. Zamir White's not going to change the game. Kendall Milton's not going to change the game. James Cook might. I think, Austin, you mentioned a couple podcasts ago that Cook could get 15 receptions for 180 yards. You're probably right on that.
Absurd game, yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if Donovan Edwards can do the same thing for Michigan. If A.J. Henning can't do some things to beat that secondary that is beatable, and A.J. Henning has speed and can do things on that Michigan offense. Cade McNamara is probably on equal footing with Stetson Bennett as a quarterback. And if Stetson Bennett can do that, I'm sorry, Moxley. Look, I'm not a big fan of Cade McNamara either, and Stetson Bennett I know has got top 5, whatever. Moxley will give me the stats later here in a minute. When it comes to the actual passing part of this game, I think Cade McNamara can match Stetson Bennett throw for throw. I trust Michigan's offensive players more than I do anybody else on Georgia outside of Brock Bowers. I do think Michigan can hang in this game, and I don't think that it's going to be a blowout either way. I don't think it'll be high scoring, but I do think Michigan has a chance to win.
Cade McNamara is probably a bottom 5 P5 quarterback.
Yes.
Bottom 10. Bottom 5 seems a little. There's 30 schools.
I
could find.
What is Stetson Bennett though? Well, I mean, Stetson Bennett is right there with him. So
there's no data that supports that. There's no data that supports that Stetson Bennett is nearly as bad as Cade McNamara is. My prediction is 24-13. I'm pretty much in the same boat as Austin. I think that there's a good chance that we see, very just Georgia heavy on special teams, Georgia heavy on defense. The way that Alabama beat Georgia was not through the rushing game. Their running backs only averaged 3.54 yards per carry. So I'm not sure that, and the reason that their rushing game was more successful, they only ran for 115 yards. Bryce Young had 40 of those yards. So Cade McNamara is not Bryce Young. The ball is in Cade McNamara's hands for this game. And if Ronnie Bell was playing, who he went out with an ACL tear probably 7 or 8 weeks ago, if he was playing, it might be a little bit different, but it's not going to be close. They just don't have the weapons. I like their tight end Schoonmaker, but, it's just not going to be close. They just don't have the offensive firepower to keep up with this good Georgia defense.
If J.J. McCarthy was a year older, I would say Michigan might have a chance because he can do some things off script. If he was a year more mature, I still don't love him as a quarterback, but I think that's the kind of quarterback you need to beat Georgia. McNamara is not that guy.
I think he could start the second half, JJ McCarthy, because he's come in and looked really good this year. When he's come in, he's like, he gives them an explosive play here and there. Like, I think if they're struggling first half, you could see McCarthy start the second half. That would not surprise me.
The counterpoint to that is if you do that, you risk doing what Georgia's defense did to DJU. So there is
break his brain.
Thin line there as to
Chris Moxley calling a Tua Tagovailoa type replacement of Cade McNamara. Chris, give me your prediction again, but give it to me so that when we can clip this, we can say that Chris was emphatic in his prediction of the game. Go.
24-13. Caden and McNamara can't do anything. The running game is going to struggle. Georgia dominates on their way to the national championship.
All right, Austin, I'm coming to you. So I'm going to show you how to do it, Chris Moxley. This is how you do it. I've got Michigan 24-17 over Georgia. That's what it's going to be. All right, go ahead, Austin.
I have, what did I say? Georgia 28-10?
Something like that.
I think that's what I said. Yeah. Like just under 3 touchdowns. And like I said, they're not going to be offensive touchdowns. There's going to be a defensive touchdown in there. There's going to be a special teams touchdown. And you don't need a lot more on top of that.
Oh, this hurts my heart. Michigan 21, Georgia 20. JJ McCarthy with a huge run in the fourth quarter to set up Michigan for the go-ahead field goal as they beat Georgia and go to likely get stomped by Alabama in the national championship.
Can I ask a question?
It's your show, too. Go ahead.
Okay. If Michigan didn't beat Ohio State, would you be projecting a Georgia win?
Against Ohio State?
Yeah, if Michigan did not beat Ohio State, if you were projecting this game, would you still project Michigan to win?
I think the better question is if Alabama didn't expose Georgia's flaws, would we be predicting a Michigan win? I think that Alabama kind of exposed Georgia. Let's move on here. All right, we're already at an hour here. I want to bring in my favorite segment. Are we ready? It's one of my favorite segments. It's a segment that we get that gets a lot of notoriety around here. People ask about it. People talk to our group about it. And obviously, the segment stems from the fact that when we started this podcast, it was me and Matt Bruning who did a lot of the talking. Chris Moxley was nowhere to be found. We didn't bring in Chris Moxley, and Austin Nace was the third here. And there was one podcast that we were 17 minutes in, and he hadn't said a word yet. And then when he did say a word, he would come in with some very, lukewarm, should we say, lukewarm takes. And so we're putting a stamp on it. Austin, give us your lukewarm take of the week.
All right, here we go, guys. It's been a while. I'm glad to be back doing this. So we've had a lot of bowl cancellations here, guys. Bulls looking for some free agents. A couple of the games have been able to fill in those holes. Some have not. One of the games that has is the Tax Slayer Bowl down in Jacksonville, Florida. Wake Forest originally supposed to play Texas A&M. I think A&M would have given Wake Forest a very difficult game with that just wonky rushing offense that Wake Forest has. They replaced Texas A&M with Rutgers. No offense to Chris Moxley's Rutgers Scarlet Knights. They are not the same team that Texas A&M is up front. I think this game is not particularly close. I think Wake Forest is going to go out there and just crush this poor Rutgers team. That those players did not sign up for this. So I'm sorry, Scarlet Knight fans. I'm sorry, Rutgers fans. Wake Forest, big win this week.
Really going out on a limb on that one, huh? Austin dig deep there.
That was actually really good. I can't even really say anything.
That's a good call.
Seeing the defeated Moxley's face is the worst. Austin's going on this whole other way, then he goes and then you get Rutgers and Moxley's why? Why do you have to go this route?
He took Rutgers over Wake Forest. Wake Forest is a top 15 team in the country, and he took Wake Forest over Rutgers.
Hey, Wake Forest's last performance was not particularly glowing, so just to throw that out there.
If Rutgers is playing in a bowl game, they should be forced to dump Gabagool on the winning coach.
Gabagool.
Gabagool.
All right. That is why. That's why I mean, we have to do that more often because it's a great segment. It's a great.
Learn
segment.
a lot. Absolutely.
All right. I meant to ask this earlier, and then we're going to get out of here. Everybody can answer this. Bryce Young, is he going to end up a better quarterback prospect than Trevor Lawrence? Chris Moxley?
No, Lawrence did it so long and at such a high level. Bryce Young's stats against the blitz are actually really poor, and so I think that's going to be the strategy to beat him. I actually wrote it down in preparation. So Bryce Young against the blitz, he went 8 for 20 for 104 yards against Georgia. That's really bad considering how well he performed the rest of the game. It's still an area where he's struggling, and he does a lot of dump offs. So I think there's a lot of areas of his game that he has to improve. I still think Lawrence is going to end up the generational prospect. I just think Young is going to end up as a very good quarterback prospect. Whether or not they're good, they're comparable NFL players. That doesn't really factor into my analysis. I'm just saying, here's what I expect national media to take it as.
If Bryce Young was as good of a prospect as Trevor Lawrence, he would have beat Mac Jones for that job last year.
Matt Bruni?
I agree with them, but I think when it comes to the NFL, Bryce Young is going to end up being better. But I don't think he's going to be the better prospect coming out of college.
Well, I mean, you already have Trevor Lawrence to look at to say he started off poorly. Bryce Young he should be a number 1 pick in the draft, so we'll be able to compare Bryce Young to Trevor Lawrence. All right. That is going to do it for our show. To be sure to check out all of the content around the Campus to Canton family. Of course, the Campus to Canton family of podcasts. That's our show for tonight. Apologies to Kirk Herbstreit. We ran out of time. We'll get him rescheduled soon. For Matt Bruning and Austin Nace and Chris Moxley, I'm Felix Sharp. Good night and good luck. I'm gonna have to bring it. That was a good one, Austin.
Thank you.
That was a good one.
That was a good one.
That was a good one. You should have took it. Wait, didn't Central Michigan just get added to the bowl schedule?
Yeah, they switched up their game. Who are they playing? Washington State now, or it's 2 games got canceled, so they combined them into one matchup.
Yeah. They Washington State in
I think the Rutgers was probably better. Was better. Rutgers. What Wake Forest over Rutgers that's a better one. Oh man,
I don't even know what the line is on that game.
It's 14.5.
I figured it's a lot.
Yeah.
There's nowhere where you can get targets on wide receivers for lines.
Not props wise. No, it has to be receptions.
No. Do you have in the next 2 minutes or so, can you look up what the line is for Jamison Williams on receptions?
Sure. It's probably 6.5 or 7.
7 is too much. 6.5 is right where I would want it to be.
Did y'all watch the Clemson game today?
I watched
the third quarter.
Kind of.
I watched it enough really bad.
Yeah, I watched it enough
really bad.
Yeah, it's not happening for him.
I do wonder if Georgia broke him. I do wonder.
He missed throws that really bad quarterbacks make all game today. He just I don't know what happened to him, to be honest.
Well, I noticed that they were running read option with him, and he was actually running the ball, which is something that we did not see all season. It's they just realized he can't. This is the only way he can move the offense is if they, have him run the ball with his gimpy knee. So,
Matt, by the way, if you count his rushing like they do in the NFL for quarterbacks, he basically finished right at that line that you gave in the preseason. It was 400 yards or something.
Oh, Bryce Young? Yeah, I know.
No, DJU.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, I went back when I was listening to old stuff. That episode that we talked, was it you, me, Colin, It was on Tailgate, I think, right, where we talked about that.
Yeah, Moxley was on there. Yeah, it was like right. It was really close to that. So I think we kind of all, we're generally in the ballpark there.
Yeah. When I was going back to find like stuff for the recap thing, the recap video, I listened to that part and I was like, oh wow. I went and looked it up as soon as I said, like, dude, I bet he came very close to what, because I think Colin was like right there with me too on like being right there. I know you guys took like the slight over and we were like right there at the 400 mark. So, because what was his over under at the beginning of the season? It was like 600 something, wasn't it? I thought it was like it was way too high.
DJU's rushing?
At 600? Like the first, it was really like when we did the first tailgate, because it was the very first episode. I think it was week 0, because we were previewing or talking about the fact that Clemson was about to play Georgia the next week. And like the over under on the season, it was high. It was like 600 yards. I was like, there's just no way he's getting to that.
That's like a rushing quarterback. I mean, that's like,
it's like not.
Desmond Ritter or.
To be fair, they basically begged him not to run all season, and he still finished with 400. Like that's it. Like he actually is a rushing quarterback. Like
DJU had 400 yards rushing.
If you take out sacks, because
if you take out the sacks,
if you look at like Sports Reference and like generally box score counting in college, they count sacks in there. But if you just go on PFF, they just count rushing yardage for quarterbacks if you want it. And he was like at like 380 something or something. He was like right where we thought he would be.
That is a lot. I mean, even if you count sacks, that's a lot.
406. He went over.
Oh, he did go over. Okay. So like we were right at it.
He had a couple big ones. I mean, NC State 70 plus yards, Pittsburgh 55, Boston College 57. So yeah, he went to 406.
Real world beaters there.
75 attempts.
I know.
There's no Jameson Williams prop yet, by the way.
Yeah, I was about to say that when he asked me that question, I was looking. They don't have anything for the Friday players, at least not on Prize Picks. It's just
I don't think it's posted on any of the betting sites either.
We were originally going to do ACC, looking forward preview. I guess we'll probably save that for another 2 weeks because we'll talk about bowl results next week. But I was going to go over under 500 yard rushing for Tyler Buchner. And I'm guessing everyone here would take the over on 500 yards.
I don't think he starts for them next year still.
You think it's who's starting for them?
If I had to make a bold prediction, I would say that Tommy Rees is going to prefer Drew Pine.
What?
Right, I'm getting up for a second.
I'm not saying I would do that. I would not do that.
Yeah.
But Tommy Rees, like you can't tell me the only reason that Notre Dame is uber conservative offensively. The only reason was because of Brian Kelly. Yeah. I think Tommy Rees, who was a conservative Notre Dame quarterback, is also probably, a conservative minded offensive coordinator.
But Tyler Buchner was off the bench before Drew Pine this year.
Pine looked better as a passer, I thought. I still think Buchner has like infinitely more upside than he does, but I'm just it is not a given that people think it is that Tyler Buchner takes that job.
If Tyler Buchner does not take that job, I'm like never drafting a quarterback in the first like 5 rounds of a C2C startup again. Because I mean, we just talked about Ty Thompson. You're telling me that Tyler Buchner is not going to start next year? Those are two guys who are in the top 15 or so of all of our rankings. And then, Jack Miller transferred to Florida, and it's going to take Anthony Miller's spot. So
that reeks of me. That reeks of me to the Joe Milton thing. Napier's going to go in there and say Anthony Richardson is not my guy. He's going to start this dude that literally everybody on the planet knows is inferior, and then by week 4, Anthony Richardson's back out. Like that is exactly what's going to happen there.
I was talking with Alfred and my God, why can I not? I was trying to think
Adam?
of his name, and Adam, about that. They both said the same thing. They think it's more of because Jack Miller is just a more style quarterback that Napier has always had. That they think Jack Miller might end up starting. I think I'm not panicking on the freshman quarterbacks yet. I want to see what happens this year. As again, and maybe I'm just reading too much into the COVID thing. I wouldn't be surprised if we see more freshman QBs from this class playing because they're just more ready. Like Buchner was already a guy who's kind of like a raw QB prospect to begin with, right? And then he did not get to play his entire senior season. That has to matter. Those guys cannot then just go to college and just turn it on and be these guys. So I wouldn't be surprised if Austin's right. I don't know that that's an indictment that Buchner's not good. I think some of it is, I mean, he got hurt too, right? He went in. There was all that talk that he was going to end up being the starter in that game that Cohen got hurt, but then Buchner got hurt, and that's why they had to start Pine. So I don't know that Buchner is not that good. I just think he's not been able to develop. And you have to get out on the field, just like Ty Thompson. He was not able to get out there and to continue to develop.
Well, let's look at the situations for some of these freshman quarterbacks coming in. Cade Klubnik is going to Clemson for a rushing quarterback in DJ Uiagalelei, who, is essentially a running back and can't throw the ball.
We're talking about that. Who? Me, CFF Insiders, and Kevin Coleman were just talking about that on Twitter. Like, would you be surprised if that's not a repeat of the Kelly Bryant, Trevor Lawrence situation? DJ,
I haven't watched Klubnik. I know you guys didn't like him at first before the Elite 11 thing.
I'm trusting Allen's analysis where he said that he watched Cade Klubnik like tape and said that he was like not impressed at all, and then he saw him throw in person and was much more impressed. So I'm going to defer to Allen True, and I bumped him up to my QB6.
I think even on some of his senior
like QB20
stuff,
before that. So.
He looks better than he did his junior season.
Well,
there's a couple guys I think that have improved immensely from some of their junior stuff to their senior stuff. Yeah, Devin Brown's another one.
But we're talking about guys potentially starting. So we've got Cade Klubnik. I would give him, a 30-40% chance to start at some time during the season next year. Drew Aller, 50%. I don't think that he unseats. No,
I don't think he starts the season. No. So I don't think he starts the season. But my whole thing with Franklin's clearly not going anywhere now, right? Like he's staying at Penn State. If he was going to leave, he was going to take one of those jobs that happened this year. If you look at Penn State's schedule, it is brutal to start the season. They get Auburn, Michigan, and Ohio State in a 4-week stretch. I think there's a realistic shot Penn State loses all 3 of those games. If they do, I think Aller starts at that point. After that point going up, they get like a bye, and then they get Indiana. I think Aller can start at the point. He's not starting the season unless Clifford gets hurt. I will agree with you there. But if they lose those 3 games, or even if they lose 2 of them, you've got no shot at making it to the Big Ten championship at that point. Why not put your quarterback out there and see what he can do? There's no point in starting Clifford anymore. There's just not. You're not going to gain anything by starting Clifford. So I think there's a shot we see him by things like week 6 on the schedule. If they've lost 2 or 3.
I feel like we thought that with Anthony Richardson. We said there's no point in starting Emory Jones. I just don't think coaches think that way. They're more conservative. Let's just talk about the 5 stars, at least according to the composite. Klubnik, maybe. He can start over DJU at Clemson. Connor Wegman is not starting at Texas A&M. No. Yeah. He's not starting at Texas A&M for his first year. Ty Simpson is not starting at Alabama. Ty Simpson may never start at Alabama because I think even after Bryce Young leaves, I still like.
I like Milroe better too.
Yeah, Jalen Milroe. I thank you for saving me there. I still like Jalen Milroe, and then Aller, and then Walker Howard. Walker Howard, I think, would have the best odds of starting the earliest his freshman season because he's got a new coaching staff there at LSU. And I mean, you're going to start Miles Brennan or Walker Howard. So
at the same time, is Brian Kelly going to start a true freshman quarterback?
But Brian Kelly was seen dancing on a stage with Walker.
Yeah, but that
was seen. You act like it was a TMZ pick that they got from like a club that the 2 of them were at.
I still think I don't think Miles Brennan says he's coming back if he's not going to
he is
the starter.
I think Brennan starts. Yeah.
Yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised if Walker gets a start at some point because I don't think Brennan's game changing at all. And I know Austin and me kind of agree on the fact that LSU's not going to be good this year. So I think that it's the same thing with Penn State. If you lose enough games, there's no point to put that kid out there now and see what happens. And that's my whole thing with Aller. Like I just outside of an injury, I agree. There's no way unless he just looks a million times, which is possible that he's a million times better than Sean Clifford through all their spring stuff and in the game in the fall game, but I just don't think I think Clifford likely starts the season. But I would not be surprised if we see Aller. I wouldn't be surprised if we see all three of them. I mean, from what we've seen from DJ this year, I don't know why they wouldn't start Cade at some point next season.
To be honest with you, I would want to see like the walk-on freshman quarterbacks over DJ Uiagalelei just to see like what they have, because I mean he's adding nothing to the offense. Just to cap this this freshman quarterback potentially starting conversation, I'm going to rank them in terms of who's going to start first, and you tell me where you think I'm wrong. I'm going to put Walker Howard number 1. I'm going to put Cade Klubnik number 2. I'm going to put Drew Aller number 3. I'm going to put, and then it's a tie for 4 and 5 between Connor Wegman and Ty Simpson. Neither one of them are going to start their freshman season. Any problem with that ranking?
I think Cade Klubnik has the best chance.
I agree. I would drop Howard to 3rd and bump up Klubnik and then Aller. It's just Kelly. I could see Kelly keeping Brennan out there the whole year and doing what he did with Buckner and just like, oh, Walker Howard's going to come in and get a couple reps here and there, but he's never actually going to start a game.
Or what he did with what's his name from Wisconsin? I don't know why I can't remember.
Oh, Mertz, yeah. Was it Mertz?
No.
Oh, Cone?
Who's
I'm talking
Cone?
about
Cone. What he did with Cone.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like Brennan starts, and then as like he brought Buchner in to do. Now, granted, Buchner is more of a rushing threat, where I don't know that Walker Howard is that like Buckner is, but like he brings Howard in for a couple series here and there, but never actually starts him unless there's an injury. Where I think Klubnik and Aller could legitimately just eventually be given the starting jobs. I mean, there's a lot of quarterbacks I think not 5 stars that could end up starting, but I just don't. If you're ranking just those guys. 5. Yeah, those.
If I think was a coach, like I just don't understand a player like. I mean, there aren't that many guys, but a player like Tyler Buckner, a player like Anthony Richardson, they would have such a heavy presence in my playbook that they would essentially be starters. Like Tyler Buckner can do so many things on the ground, and he's he makes your blocking scheme better because you don't have to. He's the running back, and so you can have an extra blocker. Like I would have a whole package for Tyler Buckner. I think they kind of do that with Anthony Richardson when he's healthy, but I don't understand why Tyler Buckner didn't play more this year.
The problem with doing it with Anthony Richardson is that, like, I'm not saying he's better or worse than Emory Jones, but like they're the same guy. Like it's not like you put him in. Like they're both rushers. Like Emory Jones, you could just insert whoever in there, and then Emory Jones could be like the change of pace guy.
That's like saying a Mustang and a Ferrari is the same car, but
I mean, tomato. The one thing I'll say with Buckner again is that we have to take into account that he got injured. He was going to start a game. He was supposed to start when Drew Pye did. Yeah, Buckner got injured. He injured like his shoulder or something. That game that Drew Pye started.
Was that Wisconsin?
To be honest with you,
I think it was Wisconsin.
I know Cone got hurt, and then all the talk on the podcast, and maybe it was the Wisconsin game. I don't remember, or not podcast on the TV on the broadcast because I was watching was it would have been Buckner coming in and likely would have been the starter, but they had to go with Pye because Buckner was hurt in practice. So we don't know what Buckner could have been had he not been injured. That's the thing. We don't know that Kelly might, if he had gone out there and played really well, that they would have kept with him. We don't know.
Austin, what we forgot to talk about, or we just didn't talk about, is the Mario Williams bet.
How's he doing tonight?
They're talking about it in the betting channel.
Yeah, I
saw Discord.
That. They are?
Yeah.
I've been I'm writing this, essay on Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams' cohesiveness. And I thought that Mario Williams didn't play a lot. Mario Williams, was on the field the entire season. He was the kick returner the entire season. He was on the field as a wide receiver the entire season. That offense just wasn't as explosive as it was in previous seasons. As a matter of fact, was it Tulane? Yes, I think it was Tulane. He might have had 12 or 13 targets against Tulane. Now, it was all the same play. They run this little mesh action RPO where they throw it to the wide receiver and they have the slot wide receiver block. That's one of their favorite RPOs. I'm going to do a video on this. It's one of their favorite RPOs, and he was the main target on that. You 11 or 12 times versus Tulane, and then was never really the target down the field. They missed him. Who was that against? I need to go back and look at my notes. They missed him on a deep route. He was manned up. They missed him on. It was it would have been a very easy 60, 70-yard touchdown. And had he scored that, I might have had it. What?
Just to put the actual stats to what you're saying, he had 316 snaps this year. That's more than any of the Ohio State freshman wide receivers.
That's good.
Marvin Harrison had the most. Good. Yeah, no, I agree. I'm saying he was out on the field a shit ton. I mean, 316 snaps. Yeah.
I'm in the process of watching every snap from OU's game so I can write this article, and I'm up through Kansas. And I'm like, oh, Mario Williams actually played this entire season. And he was the kick returner the entire season. He was on the field, but they just didn't use him down the field. It was Marvin Mims who they threw the ball down.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't consider Mario Williams a deep guy.
I think he is, if they want to use him that way.
He's not Rondale Moore. They were using him Marvin Mims. That was always my thing. He plays the same position that Marvin Mims does.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. They both play outside.
Marvin Mims played mostly slot as a freshman.
Well, he didn't play out. Actually,
I think he played more slot again this year because that's always been my thing on Marvin Mims.
So Mario Williams was playing outside, but he was being used on these RPOs where they would run back to the line of scrimmage and he would catch. It's usually that's all they had him run is these short, just think about how, excuse me, Rondale Moore is used in Arizona, literally negative. What's that stat? Negative air yards, or ADOT, whatever you want to. That's how Mario Williams was used in Oklahoma. Throwing him the ball behind the line of scrimmage. Now he got deep, at least on one play, and if he would have connected on that, I feel like they would have used him. they would have used him.
Mario Williams this year out wide 232 snaps out wide.
He played a lot.
Marvin Mims 126, 310 snaps in the slot. For Mims, this year.
He was used up. Yes, I understand that. I don't think that's a bad thing, though. You guys are like, well, he was out there.
Mims was used more outside last year. 200 snaps outside last year, just 80 in the slot last year. So
Marvin Mims was definitely used more down the field. So was Mike Woods, quite frankly, down the field, and they used. I'm not even lying to you. It's almost like they didn't think Mario Williams knew the playbook, and they had him run the same play out of various formations 70% of the time. He would be running the same run up the field and then come back for the RPO. It's essentially a screen. So
his ADP is actually very reasonable this offseason. Mario Williams. Wide receiver 14. It's not bad.
But charting games is very tedious, and it takes a long time. It takes a long
you to drink. Time. So is that how we got to where we are right now?
I don't need too many excuses to do that. If you want to do a podcast on why I'm drinking, you're going to have to get we're going to have to go there. Conversations. I don't know.
By the way, someone just posted in the Discord that Jermaine Burton is not likely to be at Georgia next year.
Where would he transfer?
Literally anywhere. He would be a hot name in the portal.
Yeah, but where would he go? We can't. Everybody can't transfer to Alabama.
You know what would be a really good spot for him? Because they don't have a guy really like him.
Let Matt Bruning guess. Matt, guess. Guess what Austin's going to say.
A really good spot
Austin
for him?
Just said, it would be a good spot for Jermaine Burton.
I have no idea.
He's from Georgia. Oh, no, he's not. I thought he's from Georgia.
I think USC.
So you're going to say USC? USC?
Yeah.
Everybody's
He's from California.
USC. Is he?
It'd be a good spot. They don't really have a field stretch guy. Gary Bryant's not a field stretcher. Taj Washington kind of is, but he's also a slot guy. Like Jermaine Burton could go there and be their number one receiver immediate. Well, him and Gary Bryant, I think they could both put up pretty nice numbers there.
I
don't know why
Mario
any
Williams on the screen. What's number
why
4
would
doing?
Why would any wide receiver ever go to Georgia?
Why? I agree with you.
Besides the fact that it's Georgia and you can like say you played at Georgia, like there's no.
No, let's actually be fair here, because Todd Monken wants to run the ball and throw the ball deep. If you are a wide receiver with speed and you want to get behind safeties and you think you can have 30 catches for 800 yards in a season, Georgia is a good spot to do that. But
I mean, that's what Demetrius Robertson tried, and he didn't do anything there. Arian Smith hasn't done anything there.
Oh, was that a touchdown? He was about to score on a long play. They called it back. Fuck.
Suck on that.
Yeah.
I feel like I need like 90-something yards from Mario Williams tonight. And it's the second quarter.
I love that we're so desperate that we had to include the postseason game to like squeeze in.
I'm not. What are you talking about? Desperate? Why wouldn't we include?
I mean, it's technically it's still technically
NFL
part
stats.
of the season.
You don't.
I mean,
right? I mean, no, it's not technically. It is part of the season. Like, why wouldn't we include?
If you go to College Reference, it counts. They count the bowl game stats in there. Just saying.
I just don't remember if it was 425 or 475. That's what really. I haven't taken the time.
I know it. Like I'm obviously would say this because I'm on the higher end, but I'm pretty sure it was 475. We'll have to go back.
So why don't we just cut it right in the middle and say 450 at this point, since we can't remember?
I mean, this is public. This is on record. Yeah, we.
I don't care that much to like go back and actually. I don't even know when you guys made this bet. So,
all right, hold on. Let's see what the Mario Williams has no catches tonight. Oh my god! He has no stats. Oh, I'm sorry. He has one.
I think he's a good player. My whole thing was just that he's not going to do.
Oh, he is
freshman. So,
and he has done more than you thought he would do. Yes.
I would have guessed about 300 yards. So he is a little bit above that.
He's been one of the best freshman receivers in the country. If we go and look at Jarrett's magic line, he's going to be right up there at the top.
When Felix brought this up a while back, I went and pulled up because I wanted to like prove him wrong, and I pulled it up. He was above the magic line. He was one of the better ones. I mean, I'll pull it up right now. What do you want to base it on? Because I've got it up. I mean,
I'm sure Worthy is Worthy the only like big name that outperformed him as a freshman this year.
Give me some other ones. I'll pull it up right here. Xavier Worthy.
Some other ones.
Mario Williams.
Marvin Harrison.
Definitely below. Bo Collins.
Marvin Harrison and Mecca are not gonna.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying.
I would rather have Bo Collins over him.
Oh no.
No. That's just wrong. Oh no, that's a wrong opinion. I'm glad we.
No, I'm talking about. I guess the second half here of Mario Williams was not a good thing for you there, Felix. Oh wait, I clicked on the wrong thing. I take that back.
Can you share your screen with us so we can see?
Yeah.
So we can have a.
Oh God,
I will.
You sure you want me to share?
No, don't even say. Just share your screen.
Okay.
Just share your screen so we can see.
Well, hang on. Before I share it, do we want to add any others on there besides just those two? I just added those two. So
we said Marvin Harrison.
I got Xavier Worthy, Mario weighted dominator rating because Jarek says that's the best.
Weighted dominator rating. What other freshman wide receivers do we need to include?
I got Xavier Worthy, Bo Collins, Mario Williams. I mean, there's no point in adding the Ohio State guys. They did nothing. So like, I don't see a point in adding. Like this doesn't count any kind of special stuff.
Troy
which
Franklin
is probably the only thing that would help Mecca because of how good he was on kickoff coverages. But outside of that, like it's not gonna.
Troy Franklin, JoJo Earl,
I don't
Hall.
I don't really care how he did relative to the other freshman wide receivers though, because all of those guys basically are non-zeros. So as far as I'm concerned, they're basically all in the same bucket except for Worthy and maybe one or two others.
I just like Mario Williams' play style. To me, like he's the Not only is he twitchy, so twitchy to me puts him in the category of Deontay Johnson. It puts him in the category of Calvin Ridley, but I think he also has top end speed. So I can't see that.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up. Hang on.
I can't see.
So yeah, I don't know what happened to Jared's thing. I don't know why it's so small now, but
Mario
there's Xavier
Williams
Worthy.
Third to Bo Collins.
Bo Collins
didn't do anything this year.
He actually
how did Bo Collins go over the line?
And then
that's because that's how bad Clemson's. Look at Austin. Look at Austin is rubbing his glasses with his middle finger.
Yikes.
For those listening.
Oh, man, just tired. It's been a long week.
I was not expecting that.
That's because that's how bad Clemson's offense has been. Wait. So Xavier Worthy was number one.
And
Bo Collins was number two.
They were the only two over the line. Then
Above
Williams was third.
Williams was third, and he was right at the line. I cannot see that.
No, he was
Williams was below the line, and who was that third?
Franklin's below him, and then
Troy Franklin, and then JoJo Earl is.
So Mario Williams is sitting at a .875. Bo Collins just jumped the line at 18.47, and then Xavier Worthy sitting at 37.64.
I think JoJo Earl is a little tough to reckon with, though, because I do think if he hadn't gotten injured in that New Mexico game, I think he would have built up a bit of a roll down the stretch there.
He was starting to do that. I agree with that. I don't understand. I feel like Bo Collins had one catch on the season.
He had a couple nice games down the year.
Time out. He had that one big catch against that South Carolina school. He had a wheel route from the left slot where he was essentially covered. And he came down with that touchdown. That's like the only big play that I remember Bo Collins making. And I see Austin.
He had a couple of decent games. I'm pulling it up now.
Yep. 104 yards against Louisville, 137 against Wake.
I was at the Louisville
3 touchdowns on the year.
He had the one against he had the touchdown against South Carolina State or something like
Louisville, Wake, and UConn. Yep. I mean, his best games were
3 games in a row.
Yeah, 104, and then Wake 137. That was it.
Oh, maybe it's Wake Forest that I'm thinking of, because they beat Wake Forest.
Yeah,
in an upset. Yeah, he had a wheel route from the slot in that game. Bo Collins had multiple 100-yard games. That's interesting.
Yeah,
that's interesting considering DJ Uiagalelei is trash.
Yeah, I think Collins is being slept on slightly. And I think a lot of it's because, and not to like I had a guy all over the other two Bama wide receivers, so I'm not like shitting on anybody for this, but there were so many people that just had this like boner for Dakari Collins, and they were fading Bo, and like I don't think Dakari Collins is very good.
Dakari Collins had like 2 catches on the season.
That's what I'm saying. But like, so that like everyone still loves, like I think even like I think Fusu is one of the big ones, and Fusu is still like, I would still rather have Dakari over Bo Collins. Now, granted, that could end up being true, but I would much rather have Bo Collins at this point. I think Adam Randall is more likely to have more catches than Dakari Collins is next year, and I don't even love Adam Randall like some of these guys do.
I know. Neither do I. Did you see that discussion this morning about that? Because David has him as his number one right now. There's another guy. I'll look it up because I don't want to.
Yeah, Jake Belfield.
Say some. Yeah. He was saying that like they both have he's their only tier 1 wide receiver in this class.
I don't think it's a very strong wide receiver class there. I have my tier 2 and tier 3 are huge, but my tier 1 is like not big at all. Adam Randall's not in it, but
yeah.
And I actually get the Randall thing because Felix would, if you watch him at Felix, you would love him. He's like 6'3", 210. He's like fucking enormous, and he's really athletic. Like, don't get me wrong, I think he is. I think he's beating up on subpar competition, though. So
golly, this game is so bad.
Why is his he has all right. So in looking at his offers, he has an offer to Clemson, and then Akron, Alabama A&M, Arkansas, and Coastal Carolina.
They go in alphabetical order after they sign. If you click on them, he has a lot more than that.
In terms of, I thought they went.
They do until they sign. They do until they sign, and then they just go signed, and then alphabetical order underneath them.
Okay, all right. I mean, he does.
Like if you say view complete list, I bet he has like a bunch.
Yeah, he has Ole Miss, Oregon, South Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia Tech, Wake Forest, UNC, Miami.
I was going to say, he probably has like 20 plus, right?
Probably. I really wanted Elijah Canaan to go to Miami.
I was on Dynasty Kings with Mike yesterday, and I've been thinking more about it, and I think I really like Romello. Big wide receiver guy likes him too. Yeah. I think I'm on the Romello Brinson hype train for next year at Miami. It would not shock me if he's their leading receiver. Mid 4-star in last year's class. Had a couple catches this year. They don't have anybody else.
So you like Tyler Van Dyke now?
For college offense, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
He's all right.
I don't know, why do you all have to like dislike or be lukewarm on somebody that I like? You can just say, I mean, you're
typically wrong, so it's just easier for us to be on the other side. No, it's funny. True. I was who was I listening to today? I was listening to an NFL thing, and they were talking about Zach Wilson. It was just interesting listening to them talk about like they don't know that he's going to be who are you talking? Was it Matt Waldman, Felix? Who were you talking about earlier? That no, Benjamin Solak,
all
right?
those things. Benjamin Solak.
Well, yeah. I know Waldman said a while ago, but Solak wrote that article. So they were talking about that article, and they were saying it's interesting because they actually think that like mechanically and everything, like Zach Wilson is like one of the best, like when it comes to like his mechanics with the way he uses his legs to, I guess, generate power for his arm, because he doesn't look like he doesn't have that big, massive arm, but because of the way he generates power with his legs, like, so it's weird, like, because of how good he is mechanically at times, that like he's so many people think he's not going to be very good when it comes to the NFL stuff. And I actually think he played better this week.
It's not his mechanics that Matt Waldman or JT O'Sullivan had a problem with. It was more like a process over results thing. He had a bad process and would have good results. I mean, JT O'Sullivan had this play where they ran a flea flicker. Oh,
yeah.
And there was a wide receiver with literally like no one within 25 yards of him.
Yeah. And
he threw to a tight end on a wheel route. The tight end had a cornerback on him. The tight end had to go up and make a catch. Made the catch. But I can't even. JT O'Sullivan even said, Zach Wilson could have dropped this ball and punted it to the wide receiver, and it would have been a touchdown. He could have. It would have been a touchdown, and he threw to the wrong play. There's another play where Zach Wilson throws an out to a wide receiver against cover 2, and the cornerback is like right there and just misses the ball, and like Dax Milan just catches it and runs up the field. It's like bad process, good result. And that's essentially what it's just bad process, bad result now. And I mean, you remember how scathing Matt Waldman was in the RSP, because we even talked about it on here. He said, I wouldn't spend a 3rd round pick or something like that on Zach Wilson. I mean, it was just scathing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm here for it. I'm rooting for him just because everybody hates him so much. I won't like publicly admit that a lot, but I feel bad for him. Everybody gives him a lot of crap about his mom and everything, but it's going to be insane
when Zach Wilson, by the way.
When Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, and Trevor Lawrence all bust, and it's going to be Mac Daddy's the best quarterback in this class.
That is going to be the we don't know what we're talking about moment, because if Zach, first of all, a lot of people thought that Zach Wilson would bust, but if Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields bust, I mean.
And, I think a lot of it, though, for both of those guys is the coaching around him, though. Like, I just can't believe Trevor Lawrence or Justin. And, like, I wasn't even that big a fan of Lawrence. I just can't imagine both those guys are as bad as they've looked at times this year. I think so much of that is coaching and the people around him.
Well, Trevor Lawrence has reminded me of DJ Uiagalelei this year. It's like, like this is a guy who had it.
Nah, get out of here with the Davis Mills crap, Mike. I mean, the Giraffes had a couple good games, but he's not going to be an NFL starter, I don't think.
Davis Mills or Trevor Lawrence for the next 3 years?
Davis Mills.